Do you know that English spelling is broken? Like, truly no. For some of you, this is something painfully obvious, but for many, it may just be a subtle feeling. And even for those of you who do know, do you truly understand how bad it is? Look at this sentence. The rough, thorough cough was brought through the drought. Now notice how we have 6 different sounds that the cluster O-U-G-H could represent. The uff as in rough, the O as in thorough, the off as in cough, the aw as in brought, the oo as in through, and the ow as in drought. Why should we consider this inconsistency reasonable? And this is far from the only type of problem. Look at this sentence. The ghost lord of his word upset the island's herd. Why do lord and word not rhyme when they're spelled nearly the same, but word and herd do? Or why do the words ghost and island have unnecessary letters that don't influence their readings? It's not island, it's island. It's not ghost, but ghost. And of course, this is just the tip of the iceberg. The brokenness of English spelling is nothing new. It has been in this tragic state for hundreds of years, and yet not one person in authority has given it more than a half thought. They refuse to bring our archaic and misinformed writings to the realities of our modern language. Spelling reform is not some revolutionary idea, but something that essentially every other European language has done. English, the stubborn exception. This stubborn suffering should not be a source of pride, but a point of improvement, a call to action. This is not some impossible, pointless dream, but a very possible reality, if we only will it. Because of this, I present the Reformation American English Alphabet, or RAEA for short. The RAEA is an alphabet that exists both as a bold step forward for English language and orthography, and yet also aims to keep our current intuitions of the written word in mind. At first glance, it appears strikingly foreign, but with only a little time, it becomes surprisingly clear. It is called the American English Alphabet as it aims to capture the English of the Americas, the English of the United States, and Canada. Now, this may seem limiting at first, but we must understand that no other language in history has ever been spoken so widely or diversely. To try and meet the needs of every English speaker would truly do little but meet the needs of none. North America alone has a population well over 300 million people. This is magnitudes more than any individual European nation-state, and if many such nations are able to thrive as sole linguistic communities, I am certain our variation of English can as well. The information covered in this video is provided in more detail in our booklet, found online at reformeuropa.net, and also linked down below. With all that said, what does the RAEA actually look like? Firstly, the alphabet contains 35 letters, of which 2 of these are only used for foreign words. Largely, the letters retain their familiar uses and names, however, some are new, and others are used in new contexts, so let's go through them all. We have aw as in art, a as in ash, a as in hand, b as in beer, ats as in cats, d as in day, eth as in weather, a as in elk, f as in fire, g as in gift, h as in hill, I as in ill, e as in east, y as in year, k as in key, l as in lake, m as in man, n as in noon, o as in old, dashed o, which is read the same as aw, as in lost, p as in pot, q as in Quebec, r as in rain, s as in stone, t as in tide, oath as in thorn, u as in fool, as in book, v as in valley, w as in wealth, x as in hex, y as in physics, z as in zero, ej as in measure, and j as in judge. Additionally, there's the circumflex diacritic. This is placed over an a, o, or u to show that it would instead be pronounced as the unstressed schwa, an By using a diacritic, It allows for some familiarity to be left in the word's spellings while maintaining accuracy in reading and pronunciation. Unlike I and EJ, A, O, and U, with circumflexes are not considered independent letters, and they're just an A, O, and U with an added diacritic. This would be used in words like cut or under. What might be obvious thus far is that the vowels are much more explicit and focused than our current spellings. This means that the diphthongs, which English has a heavy tendency towards, now have to be written explicitly. So the recognized diphthongs are I as in high, A as in day, Oi as in boy, O as OW, as in foe, which may be written as a plain O when the final letter, U as in shoot, Ow as in AW or dashed OW, both are pronounced the same, as in how, and as in tan. And of course, with our coloring, we have as in fur, air as in tear, and ear as in fear. While multigraphs, using multiple letters to represent a single sound, is greatly reduced with RAEA, there are still several, those being TT, representing the glottal stop, as in cotton and button, NG, representing the ing sound, as in sing, CH, as in chime, SH, as in sheep. And then the rest of them are present as individual letters in the alphabet, but are also represented as digraphs, with various rules, as explained in the booklet, of when one should be used over the other. So bringing everything together, let's again look at the earlier sentences. We have the rough, thorough cough was brought through the drought, now looking like the rough, thorough cough was brought through the drought. What's immediately noticeable here is that each word no longer shares that OUGH, and instead each is spelled as uniquely as they are pronounced. Looking at the other sentence, the ghost lord of his word upset the island's herd, we now have the ghost lord of his word upset the island's herd. Notice how we often imagine ourselves to say certain sounds, but when we actually tune in to what we said, it was something different. I have not met a single person that says "of." It is always "of." Notice too how lord and word no longer look like they rhyme, but now word and herd do. And of course, the unneeded letters in ghost and island are removed, although many of these words do appear quite long still because of their diphthongs. As vowels and diphthongs are now largely presented explicitly, it means that words are spelled similarly if they're read similarly. So now hot and bot look nearly identical. While these orthographic changes feel unfamiliar or random for English speakers, they are not without basis and are grounded amongst the rest of the European linguistic diaspora, with much being inspired by our brother Germanic tongues. And while certainly it takes time to internalize these new spellings and rules, we shouldn't feel discouraged if it doesn't happen overnight. For how many years did it take us to learn to read in the first place? Finally, there are several orthographic changes brought to both match the other Germanic languages and to provide genuinely useful information missing in written speech. Changes like compound words being encouraged, right? Coffee table and coffee table, the first being a type of table, while the other being a table of or with coffee. Native word abbreviations being used over the Latin ones, so instead of using e.g., we'd use the native phrasing, for example. Possession and plurals being written the same. Look at the cats, that's the cats. Adding an optional tone mark, which would then be used to further emphasize that a tone should be read throughout the sentence. That's the difference between that's right and that's right. And finally, the addition of the sarcasm mark, which is something sorely needed as it is poorly conveyed elsewise. It's the difference between of course and of course. Now, there are many more subtleties than what I've gone over so far, but understand that this is the core of the reform. You have been given near all the keys, and to show you that, here is a paragraph read aloud. The simplification of spelling is not an unconscious process, inevitable without human effort. Every changed spelling, now in general use, was once an overt act of a single writer who was followed at first by a small minority. If there is to be substantial improvement in the future, somebody must be willing to point the way, to set the example, to propose the next step in advance. And this was written in 1920 in the Handbook of Simplified Spelling. This reform will not be something that takes hold overnight, or in a month, or in a year. But if continually worked at, it will result in real change. And while I hope that even while this may seem as folly for some, we must realize that this is a dream for the youth. Not only for our very next generation, but the countless after, so that they may have a language that they can comfortably embrace, rather than that as whose rigidity was forcibly thrust upon us. Do keep in mind that the exact spellings and intricacies provided throughout this video may not have been the final incarnations of them, but they should serve as a very real glance into this possible future. If you want to learn more, find more writings, or simply have the desire to help bring this vision to life, check out our website at reformeuropa.net, and we wish you all the best.